Back when I was a kid, my mum would spend a week or two in the summer gathering up cherries at the local market to prepare glacé cherries for the upcoming holiday season. Since it's too hot for a cuppa, let's discuss that over a glass of iced tea. When Mum worked at the local home bakery, they used these post-box coloured specimens that were known to all as glacé cherries. Granted, they are eye-catching and the colour is bright and festive, but as Mum taught me, they have no real cherry flavour, or even colour for that matter. She always supported the idea that if you were going to make some kind of food, it should be what you say it is. That went from natural colours to real tastes. What she did at the bakery did not necessarily apply to baking at home. She always felt that you should make something the way it was originally created and intended. Turning these beauties into glacé cherries is a lot of work, but I find the results to be completely worth it. They become the most beautiful burgundy coloured gems and elevate your baking game so much more. The ingredients for the recipe are simple: 2.25 kilos of Bing cherries, 2.85 litres of water, and 3.75 kilos of granulated sugar. Keep in mind that you will not be using all of the full amount of sugar at once. You will progressively add it over the period of time. We first begin by pitting the cherries. My tool of choice is this multitasker, the chopstick. Now that we have all the cherries pitted, this is where the dedicated work comes in. I say dedicated because, as I said before, this is a multi-day process, 14 days to be exact, but it's a great way to make a bulk of cherries to have on hand for the holidays and even after. We begin by placing the cherries in a large sauce pot with the 2.85 litres of water. Bring it to a boil, knock it back to a simmer, and cook until the fruit is just tender, about 15 minutes. Strain the cherries. Once the cherries are drained, add 2.125 litres of the liquid back to the pot and 1.25 kilos of the sugar. Bring the ingredients back to a boil, pour over the drained cherries and allow them to sit for 24 hours. This process will get repeated the next day with even more sugar. You can put the cherries into a heatproof bowl, or, because I have a glut of food service equipment here at the farm, I prefer to use a nice metal pan like this. I find it keeps the cherries in as close to a single layer as possible. Day 2 we will drain the cherries, add 300 grams of sugar, put the syrup into the pot, bring to a boil, reduce the heat down to a simmer, and allow to simmer for 15 minutes. We will do this on days 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, adding 300 grams of sugar each day. With the addition of sugar to the syrup, it will continue to get thicker each day. As the weather has been so hot, I have been allowing the mixture to cool down before I cover it with cling film. Once it is cool enough, I put the whole container into the refrigerator overnight, so as not to allow mold or bacteria to grow in these near perfect conditions. Today is day 8. This is where things begin to change a bit. Today we're increasing our dose of sugar to 425 grams. Instead of just bringing the sugar to a boil and letting it simmer to pour over the cherries, we're adding the 425 grams of sugar to the syrup. We're letting that dissolve at a simmer for 15 minutes. Then we're adding the cherries to the pot and allowing them to cook in the syrup for 5 minutes. Once cooled, wrap and allow to sit in the refrigerator for 2 days. On day 10, we're adding the last dose of sugar, which is 275 grams. We will repeat what we did on day 8. We will bring the syrup with the 275 grams of sugar to a boil, simmer for 15 minutes, add the cherries to the pot, and simmer for 5 more minutes. Add all the contents back to the holding container. Allow it to cool down so you can cover it with cling film, and store in the refrigerator for the next 4 days. So today is day 14. As we look at the cherries, we should notice that the syrup is very thick and heavy. If that's not the case, we're going to drain the cherries one more time, add another 275 grams of sugar to the syrup, let it dissolve and simmer for 30 minutes. Then we will add the cherries back to the pot. We will cook them for a final 5 minutes. If you're satisfied with the thickness of the syrup from day 10 or after they sat for another 4 days from day 14, drain them off well. I recommend putting them in a colander and letting them drain for 30 minutes. From here we're going to set up a sheet tray with a wire cooling rack and leave it in a warm, dry place until no longer sticky. I use my oven for this, especially at this time of year when it's too hot to turn it on for anything else. So there it is. Yes, it's long and laborious. At the same time, the results are satisfying and unlike any type of glacé cherry you've ever had in your life. These beauties are what I use for Christmas cake, Christmas pud, and sultana cake. The possibilities are endless. Not only do you get these, but you get this amazing syrup. I use this for soaking Black Forest torts. I use it in cocktails. I even use it, as I did in the beginning of this episode, to sweeten iced tea. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like the episode and subscribe to the channel below on our logo. Check out our website as well, as we'll be adding more supplemental content in the future. You can also click on the grey bar to go to our Patreon page, where you can help support us financially so that we can continue to develop more content like this. Cheers!